Evil West is a title from Flying Wild Hog, who made a couple of pretty good boomer shooters with Hard Reset and their Shadow Warrior reboot series. These boys made their action game stand out with their purty art direction and presentation saddled up with top-notch polished combat. They already did a gritty cyberpunk shooter and a chopsaki swordplay, but now it's time to battle Draculas as a cowboy. Woo-da-hoo! After doing several first-person shooters, Flying Wild Hog now aims at taking a cue from Sony's God of War 2018 with an over-the-shoulder third-person action game style where the hero flows between melee and ranged combat. This mid-level Polish developer swinging for the fences by taking from the AAA game playbook is what I call an ambitious feat, and I don't mean the ones in my boots. Can Flying Wild Hog deliver and prove that it can be done while charging for less than full price? Find out and settle up, buckaroos, for a rootin', tootin', vampire shootin' and werewolf smashing showdown in this Evil West review. Evil West is the story about Jesse Rentier and his family business of hunting supernatural monsters in the Old West. Having been born into the Rentier Institute, the game's writers attempt some ham-fisted moralizing and grandstanding on the themes of patriarchal institutions while completely ignoring any historical context. There is an anachronistic female character whose role at the Rentier Institute ain't believable for shit, and her BS uncaring attitude towards the protagonist and the chain of command is even less convincing, I tell ya. Worse yet, the main antagonist further pushes for this clumsy-ass message about privilege. Never mind that, Jesse is a man who constantly puts his life on the line for others. A big old hero. His best friend and brother in arms is Edgar Gravenor, a black man. And Edgar and Jesse come off as real amigos. And it's too bad the multiplayer sidelines Edgar completely. Horse apples. Wrestling and blasting undead varmints is Evil West bread and butter. And while playing, expect to choke on this all-you-can-eat buffet of breaded buttery goodness. Engagement with the unholy involves a mix of wide-ass gunplay and combo-based melee. Jesse's revolvers require no aim, and he will auto-target any tick or leech within range. He's got 2 long guns, a rifle, and a crossbow, and they function more like a typical aim-down sight's ranged attack too. The long guns have an aggressive snap aim for quickly sniping weak points, and you'll need this automation, I reckon, because monsters move as fast as a cow's fart whipping across your brow. Evil West ain't a shooter. Jesse's style requires him to be more smooth and switch between ranged and melee, while also being as mobile as possible. So get your chaps ready, boys. The most important gear in Jesse's arsenal is his massive electric glove that can fry the spawn of Satan taint first. The violent vibrations and sickening surges blasting from Jesse's knuckles give him the speed of a coked-up charging rhino on the verge of an acid frenzy. Some of Jesse's moves are taken straight out of a classic manga, like Fist of the North Star as he throws down his own version of the 100 crack fist technique. Can you believe it? There's even a variation of a devil trigger, where players can teleport punch their nightmare creatures from all directions, making them pop into pulpy, gooey, juicy, but nutritious and maybe delicious ooze. Lassoing fodder enemies like hated cattle and slamming them into uncaring and cold dirt, or launching them and feeding them the charged lead of the Holy Father shows that Evil West's visceral combat got you some choice options to play with. The enemy roster is also diverse enough where different types that call for different strategies, and it demands the player keeps an eye open for their tails. No snake eyes now. Jesse only needs to swap weapons for certain instances, like using a flamethrower or to equip his dynamite. Outside of that, most of his actions and weapons are mapped to face buttons or executed from a simple input, like holding back or up on the left stick and tapping the left bumper. This all facilitates fast and vicious combat where the player can execute the most actions at will. If it is wrong to be strong, then Jesse will never be right. Why even deny your partner the pleasure? Bring a friend and molest monsters with massive sticks of TNT together in co-op. If you want to play with your friends, you can go right on in. You don't even have to knock. Regretfully, co-op partners don't play as other characters where it would make sense. In several levels, Jesse will have Edgar, Virgil the Engineer, or Dr. Blackwell accompany him. But the second player only plays as Jesse's clone. Like it's him again, Hillbilly Hill Ho. Now the developers could have easily made a generic partner Rentier Institute soldier who was only functional for the co-part. He could have used the same body animation as Jesse, and the only thing Flying Wild Hog would have had to do was make the character be completely masked with a bandana. Something that's got my britches in a twist while exploring the linear levels is the silly-ass scripted trigger points that force the player forward. This is the big-time distasteful while trying to find hidden areas that might contain exclusive gear or skill tree upgrades, because some of them's gotta be found and don't unlock from the leveling up. Now what the hell, man? Evil West developers may have cut corners on co-op, but their art department went all out in visualizing this heavy metal-inspired frontier. The image quality is crystal-like and saran-wrap clear even. And the intense purdy colors are so bright you will hear your eyes dilate, at least before everything else does too. Jesse's model is covered with studs and different materials and all these newfangled mechanisms with moving parts. When his weapons get their energy upgrade, they light up in real time and even cause blue reflective light on surrounding surfaces. The way light pierces through flesh is damn convincing, and it's an effect that gets applied thick onto everyone. The creatures featured are even more detailed and packaged with disgusting characteristics, like rotting patches, boils, and sores, and all neat kinds of festering, gaping cavities, making each one of these profane abominations look like they're surely suffering. The only thing left to do is put them out of their misery, and even that's depicted with craft on par with them recent Doom games. The blood and gore effects make striking impression. The way Jesse can effortlessly vivisect with a massive and clunky power glove, and it feels satisfying as the auditory feedback of wet crunches creep up your spine and massages your brain. For $49.99, gamers get a God of War-like experience without all the pretentious melodrama, and gameplay runs about 10 hours long, and New Game Plus auto-bumps players to the next hardest difficulty, and there's no making it easier. Sadly, there's no level select to retry stages so you can go find them missing upgrades. Once you beat the game, you gotta replay them from the beginning, and you can't get them parts where you were missing something. Not that you would know anyway, because Evil West don't let players keep track of what levels have unclaimed collectibles. Evil West action serves up an intense adrenaline rush of visceral action and gnarly finishers to boot. It can be overly scripted at times, and most fights always happen in very obvious arena-like areas, and there's little to no interaction with the world. Evil West is a very dumb game that puts markers on what you're allowed to touch. But in spite of that, it's still a worthy guilty pleasure for its radical violence and spectacle. 3 to live for now.
Yeah, now they're dead. Give them head, now give them their head back after you rip it off. That's what I meant. Or drink the blood from a fucking trough. And then, after you split them in half, then you're gonna take them and bathe them a bath, or give yourself a bath with their nasty blood. And that's where you do it, out in the mud, outside in the back. Scream the yard, scream it down, now scream it far. There's nothing they can do if there is you. And all you gotta do is point, click, and shoot, and get those fucking tinker galoots back to hell inside a bathroom and lock them up and clean them up inside. That's why your bullets can take them a ride. They follow them around. You don't even lock on. All you gotta do is fucking shoot all night long. Shoot all night long.